Tonight, attacks against Border Patrol agents and ICE officers are skyrocketing, the violence playing out across the country. Bullet holes at a Border Patrol facility in McAllen, Texas. A detention center in Prairieland, Texas targeted as well. Vehicles vandalized and 10 people arrested and charged with attempted murder of federal officers.
It was a planned ambush with the intent to kill ICE corrections officers. Make no mistake, this was not a so-called peaceful protest.
The left loves using intimidation tactics because it allows them to get what they want politically, while at the same time not allowing you to live your life the way you want. And this is exactly what we're going to see being discussed today over our Mark Halperin show. The idea that ICE agents are being doxxed in an effort to stop them from doing their job. So we're going to see, of course, conservative talk show host Ben Ferguson clash with Democrat strategist Nomi Konst. But before we get to these clips, don't forget to like and comment on this video so we can break through the algorithms. Here we go.
Don't even have the courage to show their faces or their names because they want to protect themselves from any sort of legal repercussions.
That's also not true. Mark, hold on. I can speak this personally. I have a good friend of mine that is an ICE agent. And not only has his home been attacked, they had to move out of the home, and his children were doxxed on the internet by groups that took pictures and then found where he lived and then put his 4, 7, and 11-year-old children's faces and connected to the wife's social media, including the grandparents, and said, this is public enemy number one.
Okay. So I don't agree with that. How would you feel if I don't agree with any doxing of children? Let's just say that.
But you just said it wasn't happening.
But how about other agents? So, I mean, let's. I have no reason to doubt Ben and other people have said it. Let's say that's true. Wouldn't that justify their wearing masks?
Yes.
No, I think that's a convenient excuse, to be quite honest.
Well, they weren't doing it before they were being doxxed.
Let's say your uncle was an ICE agent, and he was doxxed, and he was identified by visually.
Sign up for the job. You sign up for the job. Would you say it to a soldier? Would you say that to a police officer? Police officers don't cover their faces. They don't put their badge. They have IDs because they have a legal responsibility.
That's not true. SWAT individuals do it all the time. If you knew about law enforcement, you would know what you just said is not true. SWAT team members do this all the time and cover their faces. Have for 30 years.
I know you said you didn't support the doxing of kids, but let's say it's factually correct that agents who don't wear masks might have their kids doxed and that it's happened. Would you still oppose their wearing masks?
I would still oppose their wearing masks because I know
that. Would you still say it's part of the job?
Yes, absolutely. I think that this is a situation in which it is horrible when people are doxxed. I have friends who've been doxxed. Do you think college students deserve to be doxxed? Do you think, they have a mask ban they're putting in the city now because they think protesters on college campuses, should have to show their faces. So
I don't want to bemoan it. I truly don't understand this. Why is it a problem if they're wearing masks?
Why is it a problem if a college kid wearing a mask on a college campus is?
Well, I didn't say I had a problem with that one way or the other.
Local wants to ban.
Well, I understand, but I'm asking you if it's factually true that law enforcement and sometimes their families are doxxed if they don't wear masks, you'd still oppose their wearing masks?
I think doxing is the issue. The solution is not masks because they have a duty to
show their faces. Why do they have a duty to show their face?
Yeah, that's not true.
Why do they have a duty to show their face?
For instance, ACLU has been taking on a lot, these ICE agents who have been pulling people up and off the streets. It's been very hard to track who those ICE agents are in several situations because they're wearing masks, because they're trying to shield their identity. There was a situation in California.
The amount of paperwork for a raid, everyone's there. They're all.
No, that's not true at all, Ben.
Again, I come from a law enforcement family.
File a FOIA request.
I come from a law enforcement family. And this is the part that just makes me laugh about people that don't understand law enforcement. Every single time my dad went on a raid, there is documentation beforehand and assignments of who is going to be there because you have to show up for work for the raid. And then you get briefed on the raid. Yeah. And then they tell you who's in the car. You don't just have 15 dudes show up and go, anybody want to go to work today? It doesn't work that way. The court system every day goes back and they can see who was involved when there was an issue with law enforcement, and they know everyone that's there, and they know, and they all get subpoenaed.
There's no history of any sort of malfeasance.
Come on, this might be the weakest argument I've heard in a long time.
I don't know what world you're living in right now. If you know anything about New York or Philadelphia or Chicago or New Jersey or any of the police forces in the 80s and 90s, you would know very well. And I'm talking about democratic cities with Democrats. I'm going after my own
When
people.
you're going out
The
on
law
a raid,
enforcement is not clean.
you are briefed
Especially
well
when they're violating
beforehand.
habeas corpus.
But I don't want to belabor it. I want to get some questions in, but I just say again, Nomi, and I don't mean to make this a double team on you, but I just don't understand why law enforcement officers where we've seen now there's sometimes docs, why they have to not wear masks. I just don't understand the public. There's a value to their wearing masks. What's the public value of they're not wearing masks? Because the ACLU, as Ben suggests, they can go to court and they can say, well, we know who was there because of the paperwork, and we can also identify them by their build. Like if
their badges,
if there needs to be some accountability, there's a way to do it. But we just know in the digital age, if they're not wearing masks, their kids could be doxxed.
So this is part of the issue here. First off, it's not a vast situation where everybody's being doxxed. There are some citizens.
A lot of them are.
And
I wouldn't want one. I wouldn't want one.
I've been I'm sure many of us have been doxxed on here.
Yeah.
It is not a fun situation. I am, but it does not mean.
But I'll just try again. What's the public value to their not wearing masks?
It's harder to track their name because the truth is they're not filing the paperwork. There are cover-ups. The ACLU has multiple lawsuits right now. NPR did a great story on this the other day. Multiple lawsuits in which law enforcement is protecting their own. There was a guy standing outside of a Home Depot in California, in Los Angeles, who was an American citizen born in Los Angeles, who they grabbed to the ground. They were wearing masks and beat the crap out of him.
Okay, I'll just say,
and the ACLU could not figure out who those people were. It took them a month to figure out who those agents were.
So they did figure it out. They did figure it out.
A month though, and if he hadn't had a
freedom
video,
of information request take time. Okay, got it. Okay, got it. I understand now. So it did. So the system did work, Mark. We just didn't like it because we can't intimidate ICE agents, and we wanted instant gratification by doxing them on the internet.
Not the children being pulled off the streets.
Anarchy 101. Here we go.
All right. Well, that blew up in her face, right? What's the big complaint from Nomi Konst? It's that wearing a mask for an ICE agent makes them more difficult to identify. And yet she cites a case where ACLU was able to identify them. It just took a little bit of time, okay? So the danger for the ICE agents outweighs the outrage from the leftist public. And by the way, I don't want to get out of control here because I don't trust the government, to be clear, okay? I want to be able to identify people, but there is a real effort here to dox ICE agents and intimidate them from not being able to do their job and, of course, possibly cause them harm, all right? And by the way, we have Democrats out there actually introducing legislation that says, hey, ICE agents wouldn't be able to wear masks. And that means that if they go to places like Seattle or Portland or DC, where you have these rabid Antifa members who are willing to plan attacks on ICE agents, right? Their lives would therefore be in jeopardy. And not just them, but also their families. And that's a great point brought up by Mark Halperin, right? If this is actually happening, even if it's not happening, say, an awful lot, what's the public interest in having this happening? Oh, it makes them easier to identify. As we already established, they can still be identified, except for now, their families will most likely be exponentially more safe than they would have been otherwise. And of course, doxing has gotten easier than ever because, as we can see over here, yes, facial recognition technology is being used to dox these ICE agents, right? And don't forget, there are planned attacks going on against these ICE agents. That's the level of insanity we're facing right now from a leftist mind, all right? But your standard Democrats like Nomi over here doesn't quite understand the rabidness of the leftist base, doesn't understand the extremism they have in their hearts, doesn't understand the anti-American sentiment going on right now among this group, and apparently she doesn't understand how dangerous they actually are, right? So to you and me, this makes perfect sense. But to the Democrats and the leftists, they don't want it because they don't want these mass deportations. They don't want the illegal immigrants being deported, much less the violent criminal illegal immigrants being deported, okay? To them, it's all one and the same. And this, of course, is just another tactic they're going to use to try to get their way to intimidate ICE agents and shut down Donald Trump's agenda. So thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe, and say hi to your mom for me. Do you like t-shirts? Of course you do. And now you can support the channel by buying an Angry Teacher t-shirt designed by me, Angry Teacher. So if you like America, if you like freedom, if you like liberty, then go ahead and click the link in the description where all designs, of course, are 100% mother approved. So enjoy yourself and find something you like today.